I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Hey guys, Fleet Foxes is coming to San Antonio May 8th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. at the Tobin Center downtown. My listeners will get a 5% discount if they go to my website at fascinationstreetpod.com, click on the Support the Show page, and then click on the picture of Fleet Foxes. So enjoy Fleet Foxes, and thanks for supporting me. Hey guys, you know I'm in love with the Menlo Club, the monthly service that sends you really cool clothes. Well, a couple of months ago, I was hanging out with the CEO. We were having coffee in LA, and he was talking about the April package. Specifically, he was super excited about the April package because it's these dope-ass white shoes, these sneaks. And so I was talking with the guys at Menlo Club, and what they're going to do is, for my listeners, if you sign up as a member for April, not only will you get these amazing white sneakers, but if you use promo code FSP, as in Fascination Street Podcast, you will also get a really cool jacket and some awesome sunglasses thrown in with your April package. So sign up in April, you'll get the really cool shoes, a jacket, and sunglasses, all just for putting in promo code FSP when you sign up. I'm super excited about these shoes. I've seen them, and they're great for everything. You're going to want more than just one pair, and I don't even know if that's going to be possible. So sign up for the Menlo Club at themenlohouse.com and use promo code FSP at checkout. Thanks, guys.
Do you like eating sand? What about talc or titanium dioxide? The fact is, 99% of all vitamins on the market contain unnecessary and potentially toxic additives. That's why we've created Pure Vitamin Club. Our daily multicap is a carefully balanced formulation of the 13 essential vitamins plus 11 key minerals with no added ingredients of any kind. Just the nutrients your body needs to function at its best. But no vitamin will do you any good unless you actually take it. So we've made that easy for you. Pure Vitamin Club will deliver your vitamins to your door for pennies a day. Pure Vitamin Club.
Click on the Pure Vitamin Club bottle on the right side of the screen of this podcast webpage to get started.
Welcome back, guys. This episode is Matt Fondiler. I got to show up to the Adam Carolla Studios and interview his personal assistant and honorary Adam Carolla Show lackey, Matt Fondiler. Matt and I talk about how he came to be in the Adam Carolla universe. We talk about how he became affiliated with the Sword and Scale Rewind podcast, how he met his wife, and how he hurt his back the last time I was in town. All while we were both enjoying Adam Carolla's Endless Rant beer. Enjoy, guys. Matt Fondiler.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
First of all, Kaylin, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
There it is.
Yo. Kaylin, there's extra Endless Rant in the fridge if you want.
Yeah, Kaylin.
Come on, bro.
What is wrong with you, bro?
Okay.
You guys are good to start whenever you want.
All right. Thank you, Kaylin. Oh, my God, dude. Matt Fondiler, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, my God. Thank you for being on my show.
It's my pleasure. Last time you were here, I fucked up my back. I could barely walk.
Yeah, what did you do?
My wife and I recently had moved into a new house, so we were doing like a big housewarming party.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I wish I could say we owned it. Not the case. We got these huge umbrellas with these gigantic floor weights to kind of keep it from the wind knocking them over. And I had the adrenaline going when they arrived, and I didn't lift with my knees. I lifted with my back, and I've never had back problems before in my life.
Really?
So at the time, it didn't even faze me. I just hoofed it and moved it to the backyard and set it down, and that was the rest of my day. It wasn't a problem. And then I woke up the next morning, and I could barely get out of bed. It was, I would say, about 48 hours of just excruciating pain. And that's just happened to have coincided with your last visit here.
Well,
so
hey,
sorry.
No worries, man. It worked out. I'm here now. So, did you take drugs?
No.
What?
Just, a little bit of alcohol. That's all I need.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy. I would have been on everything I could find.
Yeah. No, it wasn't unbearable, but it was just uncomfortable more than anything. So
Was it embarrassing?
a little bit. I learned a valuable lesson.
Yeah. Was your wife like, what the hell is wrong with you?
No, she knows who she married. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
nice.
thankfully we got that out of the way pretty early on.
So if I remember correctly, you did I don't know, Uber or something to help pay for your
I did.
wedding.
Yeah.
That was an inspiring story. My son, he's 25, but this was 2 years ago probably. He had wrecked his car, and he was trying to save up money for a down payment on a new car. So he Ubered. The insurance company gave him a car for a while, a rental car or whatever. It was for a kind of significant amount of time, like 5 or 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
And so I told him about what you did, and he just Ubered the shit out of that rental car, and then he used that money and he did the true car and he got a car.
It's amazing, right?
Well, it was really cool. So, I mean, even though the Adam Carolla show and everything it's wildly entertaining and a lot of fun, there's a lot of things that have kind of, helped me out. I'm wearing a 5'4" shirt and
Nice.
jeans and socks.
There you go. Thanks for supporting the show.
I'm wearing me undies.
Nice.
I'm just
at least
having
you're
a
wearing
blast.
underwear. A lot of times people come through here, no undies at all.
Well, that's a horrific thought. But so Matt, where are you from?
I am from not too far from here. I grew up in Southern California. My parents still live in the same house that I was raised in. They've been there for, 30 plus years now. And, I went to school not too far from home. I've gone and traveled for fun, but I've never really lived outside of Southern California. Before I worked for Adam, I had a few different kind of like movie studio type jobs, just being like an administrative assistant.
Okay.
I worked in a couple finance departments, things like that. At the time, I was working at Sony Pictures, which is out in Culver City, and I was living in North Hollywood, which is where Adam is from.
Okay.
So you got a little taste of LA traffic this afternoon, just going from Woodland Hills to Glendale.
LA traffic sucks balls.
It's horrendous.
I think Adam just said y'all won top honors again for worst traffic in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightly
insane.
so. You guys suck.
So so you can imagine then North Hollywood to Culver City without traffic will take you probably 45 minutes or an hour. With traffic, it's just guaranteed 90 minutes in the car. Anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours every single day. So my job at Sony was a good job, but I was pretty miserable. Mostly the commute, and it was just kind of another paper pushing kind of a job. So I used to listen to Adam's radio show, which is what got me through all those morning commutes.
He wasn't syndicated in San Antonio, so I didn't get that. The funny thing is that I had been a fan of podcasts since, before that. And one of the podcasts I was listening to was called The Don and Drew Show. And it was Drew Domkus and Dawn Maselli, his wife. And I guess Drew Domkus used to be I think he played keyboard in some sort of a religious band of some sort. I don't know. But him and his wife bought a farm in Minnesota or some shit like that. And they were doing a podcast. And I was listening to that podcast, and they were saying, because it was like a daily podcast or something, and they were saying, Drew Domkus said, oh shit, today is Adam Carolla's last day, and he's starting his own podcast on Monday. And so since day one, I was right there because, I was a fan of Adam from on MTV Loveline, and, my personal favorite is when he was on Dawson's Creek.
Nice.
and then I think he was on Las Vegas also.
Nice.
And so that, he was always kind of in my periphery.
Sure.
And so I really got excited when the podcast came. So that's how I found him. How did you find him?
So when I was growing up, I used to watch The Man Show. That The Man Show and South Park. That was Wednesday night lineup on Comedy Central when I was in early high school. So I wasn't from then on an Adam Carolla fan. That was kind of my first introduction to him. And then frankly, I watched a few seasons of The Man Show, and I had never given him another thought. And then I had a buddy of mine who was telling me about his radio show and was like, hey, if you have this horrible commute in the morning, you should try listening to it. And so when I turned on the radio, Adam was just wrapping up his Dancing with the Stars stint.
Right.
So Teresa was still on the show with him, and basically I was listening to the show from then on, and much like you heard about his last day on the radio, I heard his last day on radio.
Oh, okay.
And I heard him say he's going to do this podcast, and I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I downloaded the first episode, so I listened to every show
Good
right
job.
from the beginning as well.
Well done.
So he started that show in, I think it was February of, 2009.
It was February.
And then by the end of that first year, like probably going into like the summer, I would say, that first year, Adam had said that they're going to try to expand the network and add some new shows. This is, before even CarCast or On the House, any of that existed.
Yeah, this was Daves of Thunder and Spider and the Henchman and
The Parent Experiment.
Parent Experiment.
Yes,
Thank you.
and The Big Three and all these other shows that have since gone. So basically, I had like kind of a double inspirational moment. I did two things simultaneously that ended up kind of changing my life in a way that I didn't expect. First, Adam inspired me to try doing a podcast for myself. I liked the way he had talked about how he liked the exchange of ideas. And I realized that that's something that I always liked too. And I felt like my friends and I, all we do is talk about movies that we love. So I just kind of, after hearing a show, was like, you know what? I'm going to start like a movie show with my friends.
There will be spoilers?
There will be spoilers.
Nice.
Right. Nice. Good pull.
I'm
Good pull.
awesome.
You are. So simultaneously, I also wrote a fan letter to Adam's team, just saying, I live in North Hollywood. I know you're from North Hollywood. I know you do the show around there. Here's my resume.
Back then, was he doing it out of his house?
He was.
Okay.
They were doing it out of the house, but he did start having this property because what happened was I mailed this letter. 3 months went by. I forgot that I mailed the letter. Then, this is such a weird coincidence. The day that I posted my very first episode of There Will Be Spoilers, that day, I got an email in my inbox that said Adam Carolla Podcast.
Really?
And it was such a surreal moment because I was just thinking about my podcast that I had just me and my buddies talking, and I'd forgotten that I sent this letter, and I just saw an email that said Adam Carolla Podcast, and it was like, are you still interested?
Was it from DM?
No.
Okay.
It was from a woman named Maddie who used to help run all the advertising.
Okay.
This is pre-Podcast One era.
Gotcha.
So I worked at Sony. This woman also worked at Sony. Now, we did not know each other, but I think she just saw Sony on my resume and knew that Sony hires really good people. So she's actually the one who first called me in. And I had, again, just a completely surreal experience walking through this building for the first time that we're sitting in now, which did not look like it does now.
Right.
And I got to meet, the Wheeze and all these people that I'd heard about on the radio show. And I basically, for the first 6 months or so, I just kept my job at Sony, and we used to do the podcast at night. So I would work all day, and then at night, I would just come here, and I'd listen to the show, and I would do like an episode description and upload it to the website. That was my job.
That was your whole job?
That was my job.
Was the show notes or whatever?
Show notes, exactly. And then I just kept...
Was that an intern position?
Sort of. They wouldn't... I guess you could call it an intern position. I don't even think we were using that word. To me, it was just like...
I guess my question is, was that a paid position?
It was not.
Okay.
No, I definitely just put in time just doing this kind of work. That was fun for me. It didn't feel like work or anything. And I kept asking for more hours. I was like, I want to be here. I want to be here. And then eventually we kind of had a couple talks, and I was able to leave my job at Sony, and I started working for Donnie, who is Adam's former business partner, working as his assistant full time. And then, over the course of the last few years, as Adam's business model has changed a little bit, I just sort of moved into being Adam's assistant. And then, more recently, I'm, producing shows and, trying to do things that are bigger than just favors for Adam.
Right. So, in your wildest imagination, when you were working at Sony, before that epic day where those two cool things happened, could you have ever imagined that you would be doing now what you were doing?
Well, not really. I mean, I definitely used to have like imaginary conversations in my head, like, oh, what would it be like if I talked to Adam about this thing? Oh, that never felt real. It felt like any other imagined conversation that you have
right
in
there
your
with
head.
you. I talk to Adam all the time.
Exactly.
He doesn't know it, but I'm talking to him
That's
all
right.
the time.
That's what's so great about being on the other side of this now, because you meet people who listen to the show, who know all the stories, and they're like, I know you. I don't know you, but I know you.
Right. It's got to be weird for like your side of the equation, because I know way too much about all of you. You don't know shit about me.
Right.
So, I mean, that's got to be a little bit weird.
It is a little bit, but it's really not that different from when you interact with any strangers in like a social setting. Like, you don't know people until you really get to know them. And it certainly makes it easier for someone to open up to me if they feel like they already know who I am. So our conversation, our connection happens way quicker than it does if I've just like met a person in a bar who doesn't really know, you know, if neither person knows anything about the other one, it's actually a little harder.
Right. That makes sense.
And it's a really cool feeling when we do these events to have all these fans coming up and, like I said, knowing all the stories and all the inside jokes and all that. I mean, that's incredible. It's like it's an unbelievable feeling.
Sometimes I feel like it still catches Adam off guard sometimes. Like when I was here last time, I came here, you know, to do some things, and him and Drew were finishing up a show or a series of shows because somebody was about to go out of town. And, you know, I met Adam again, and then the next day, I was over at the other shop interviewing Nate about everything.
Yeah.
And Adam walked in the back door just as I walked in the front door, and Adam was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "You again? Like, what are you doing here?" I was like, just don't mind me. I'm just going to go look at these cars. And
yeah.
he was like, "All right, whatever." And so I feel like every time I see, because it's like probably the third or fourth, maybe even fifth time I've met him. And he's just like, why do I keep seeing this motherfucker? Like, I don't know who this dude is or why he keeps being around here. Like, I met him backstage once in Austin, and then I met him at a signing in San Antonio, and he's just like, who is this motherfucker? But it's been a lot of fun. It's not like you're going to tell me a bad thing, but how are you enjoying what you're doing now?
It's been incredible. I mean, especially, I would say even just these last few months, we've been trying to step up the production of the show, and we've been doing, you know, weekly meetings where we're really planning out the next week's shows. And that's the kind of thing that I always kind of aspired to be able to do, to really feel like a creative contributor to the show as opposed to just kind of administrative contributor, just kind of keeping the wheels moving. So that's been a pretty rewarding experience. There's a music game that I had come up with like 4 years ago, and I pitched it, and Adam liked it, and it took a lot of prep to get it ready to go for the show because it was sort of like day and date related. It just never got played, and I kept prepping the game, and just the show would run too long. We just would never get to it, and I felt a little bit defeated, so I just stopped pitching it. But like I said a couple months ago, things have been shuffled around a little bit. I'm now in a position to have some more creative input. So I repitched the game, and this time we got to play it. And it was a game called Take That Tune, which we just played about a week and a half ago as we're recording this. Not a very complicated game. It was based on The Gong Show and just the idea that Adam always rants about music from his era, but unless he's talking about like Kanye West, you never hear him talk about contemporary artists. So I just thought, why don't we play him contemporary music? Everybody has to guess how long is Adam going to be able to stand it until he has to stop the song.
And Rick Springfield was the guest.
Yeah, which was totally cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, so he
was really into it. And I think he won.
I think he did too, actually.
He was really into it, and it sounded like he had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so somewhere in between all that, like when I pitched this game and it never went on the air, and then this latest iteration where it did make it to air, there was a period of time when we had David Wild on our show, who's like a Rolling Stones writer, and we tried a couple other music games. And there's like one day in particular where it was a complete crash and burn. like Adam just started ranting about where the song intro points were and how long the clips were. And I had nothing to do with the game, but I was just like, wow, well, my game's never going to get played then. This is a disaster.
That's it for me, man.
Yeah, so to prep the game and then to watch it happening live, I was like kind of at the edge of my seat because I just wanted it to go well. The one thing
Were you in there for it?
I normally am not, but I did. I was in the booth for that. I was just like pacing in the background, like fucking like, no, play it, quick, cut, like overproducing it, you know. But then it went really, really well, and it was such a satisfying feeling. So that's a really long way of answering your question. I do really love the work that I'm doing now. It's been really fun.
That's kick-ass. You don't have to tell me if you can't, but I know that Gary has moved on to be doing something else. Can you tell me what he's doing? Or
yeah, I mean, he's still producing other shows here. Right. He's just not the lead producer on the Adam Carolla show. So he's still here 5 days a week doing all the other shows that he did before. Plus, instead of doing Adam's show, he's now going to Podcast One and producing a bunch of their shows.
Oh, really?
So he's now producing Rob Riggle's podcast. And there's the new Chet Waterhouse podcast.
Oh, he's doing that one?
Yeah, Gary's doing that one. So
I had Chet on my show.
That's awesome. Dude, that guy is hilarious.
He's
Jeff Cesario, he's amazing.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, so, it's like, it's a little bit different, but he is, I mean, I still see him every day, and, he became basically my best friend through working here. We were roommates for a long time, and he's really good friends with my college roommate, so.
Oh, cool.
It's awesome. It's all like family.
That's good.
Yeah, and Chris has been doing a great job in the kind of lead producer chair, and then because he's doing that, I took over his role for the Adam and Drew show. So now Gary and I produce those shows together. So everything just kind of shuffled around a little bit, but it's been a pretty positive change, I think, for everybody.
Well, it sounds like it's just onward and upward.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Like, it's just sky's the limit with this company.
And then the other amazing thing, so. Forever, we have taped on Sundays because we want to tape the day before the show airs.
So y'all would be off on Friday and Saturday?
Well, I wouldn't be off on Friday.
Not off, but
correct. Not recording.
Okay.
And then, guys like Dawson or Brian, people who are just kind of the talent on the show, they don't have to come in on Fridays or anything.
Dawson's talent?
Oh, he is. But, guys like me and Kalen, like we had to come in every Friday. And then we'd come in every Sunday, too. So for the last 8 years, with exceptions, I have not had, like, a real weekend. Like, if Adam travels, then I get my Sunday. But pretty much all we ever do is work 6 days a week here. And finally, at the end of this football season, Adam said, it's easier to do shows on Fridays. Why don't we just start doing shows on Fridays, air them on Mondays, and we can all enjoy our weekends.
Really?
So for, like, the first time in, like, almost a decade, I am going to have my weekends again, which I love working here, but I miss it. Like having 2 full days to recharge your batteries, it's critical. So it's been a pretty awesome
especially for a newlywed, man. You got to have some recovery time, dude.
Exactly.
Where did you meet your wife?
So we met at a Halloween party that was thrown by a friend of a friend through this company. So Adam has his other guy, Rob, who you may have heard his name thrown around. He helps out with the cars and the home improvement stuff. So Rob's buddy is the one who threw this. He used to throw these epic parties at this house. He had this house in the Hollywood Hills. He's the announcer for The Price is Right.
Okay.
All right. So he's doing very, very well for himself. And he had this crazy, like, grotto pool area. And he did, Memorial Day parties, Halloween parties. So I've been going there for a couple years. And then it just so happened that my now wife was friends with the girlfriend of the host. Okay. So we both showed up at this party to hang out with our friends, and then we connected, and we both love Halloween, so it was sort of just a natural fit.
What did y'all dress up as?
There's a movie called True Romance. Okay. Have you seen that before?
Of course, sure.
So she was dressed like Alabama from that movie. Which is funny because she was wearing like a blonde wig.
That's Patricia's role, right?
Exactly, yeah, the Patricia Arquette character. And then I did something
Brad Pitt? You dressed up as Brad Pitt?
Yeah, no, that would have been awesome though, just on the couch. No, I dressed up as my Facebook page, which consisted of a sandwich board that looked like my profile. I handed out friend requests, and I had a pen attached to the board, and people could write on my wall. And so at the end of the night, this poster board that I was wearing was like a yearbook for that night.
Right.
And, I changed the markers out every couple of hours, and as people were getting drunker, their handwriting's all sloppy.
Front and back?
I think it was just the front, but I think one year I ended up just kind of double-siding it, and then when it got too full,
so you did this multiple years?
Yeah, I did, because it was a great icebreaker.
It sounds awesome.
It was a really, really good icebreaker.
So what do you do with those poster boards? Do you keep them?
I think they are still in my bedroom at my parents' house, sure. Collecting dust somewhere.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
There's definitely my wife's message before we ever really knew each other. She wrote on there. So
That's precious.
Her message is on there somewhere, but that was before we even knew each other.
You should find it.
Yeah.
And take a picture of it, like a really good one, and frame it or have it put on vinyl or canvas or something. And
yeah. Well, we do have a picture together that was taken of us. Just, we just met that night and somebody snapped the pic. So I do have a picture from the night we met, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. What, again, don't answer anything you don't want to answer.
Yeah, no, it's no problem.
What do you see in your future? Like, are you going to be here forever?
What I was actually recently talking to Adam about this because, for as long as I've worked here, it's always felt like podcasting as a medium is in this crouching position, ready to start this marathon.
Right.
And we've been talking about kind of availability, accessibility, and this idea that maybe one day in cars you'll just have a podcast button and it'll be so easy.
When he was interviewing, this was so long ago, you might not even have been working there yet. He was interviewing, I think it was Henry Ford the 11th or whatever the fuck. And Adam was like, he asked him, and this was, oh my God, this would have been 2010 maybe. And Adam was pressing this Ford dude. He's like, am I going to be able to just get in my car and the episode is already ready for me?
Right.
So y'all are talking about that again?
Well, I just think that conversation has just always been in the ether. And so for me, I'm still just waiting for that to happen because I feel still that the potential for this company, for this type of medium is still just poised to explode. So when I was talking to Adam, I was like, listen, maybe that's going to happen in the next 5 years finally. And if that's the case, then I absolutely want to be here and be part of that whole thing as it's taking off. Now,
because make no mistake, this is the leader in the clubhouse.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I'm so fortunate that I have been here since the beginning, more or less. So I've been able to see it grow and grow. So I don't really have any, plans to go anywhere. But at the same time, 5 years from now, I'm going to be getting closer to 40. I can't really say how I'll feel at that point. Hopefully by then, my family will have grown. We'll have a kid or two. That's part of the 5-year plan. So all those things are kind of hard to predict where my life will go. But I certainly feel incredibly comfortable here. And it's an interesting comfort because Adam does still push me out of my comfort zone a lot. So it's not like I'm just kicked back comfortable. I'm enjoying this job because it's so dynamic and there's so many different things that have to happen every single day.
Do you think that he pushes you out of your comfort zone on purpose? Do you
a little
think
bit.
That's an active thought that he's doing?
Yeah, that's just sort of how he is. On one hand, I don't think he's doing it in a vindictive way where he's like, yeah, Matt needs to work on this, so I'm going to make him do that. I don't think it's like that at all. It's just the sort of natural result of working for a sort of a high stress, a high output kind of person.
High expectation.
Yeah,
Jesus
it comes
Christ.
with a high expectation.
Last year he was demanding more from his deodorant.
I know.
So, I can only imagine what he's demanding from his assistant.
Right. So, I'm fortunate. I've had a great rapport with him over the years. He trusts me to take care of things without having to ask me to do it multiple times. So I don't have a stressful relationship with him. There I'm sure have been people that have worked for him in the past that can't do it. But
right. I'm sure.
It's not like I came from super strict parents or anything like that. I for some reason I have the sort of personality type to deal with some of the more intense things and not take it personally and just just do what I have to do, and whatever he's telling me, I have to just really think about why is he telling me this, and I try to grow from it. So
it sounds like you need a new nickname, like Duck Feathers.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
wash it right off.
Just rolls off like duck feathers.
Yeah, no, anything to get rid of the Porcelain Punisher nickname will be fine by me.
I don't want to know how you got that nickname, but how did you get all of the other nicknames?
Oh man, well,
Seeker of Pleasure.
Yeah, those. It's funny. People have asked me that because that's a newer one. I don't know truly what the origin of that is. My theory is that a lot of times at the end of the week, Adam will ask me what I'm doing for the weekend, like what my plans are.
Yeah, he seems to really get some sort of a twisted self-flagellation out of everybody else's enjoyment.
Exactly. And, I'm not like I'm like loaded and we're just doing crazy shit all the time, but we do like to have fun on the weekend. So we're always trying to go to events and go do things like that. So I think enough times of him asking me what I'm up to, and then I tell him a bunch of stuff that I'm doing.
I'm going to Burning Man all week.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I did that a couple of years with Coachella. That was interesting.
Coachella,
right. Yeah, thanks, Mike August. So I can't remember what your question was, but I think I answered it. Oh, the other nicknames. Oh, Seeker of Pleasure. Right. So I think that's kind of where that came from, was just always hearing that I always had stuff planned. And then that list started to grow in like a Game of Thrones style fashion, which is really, I think, probably funnier for those of us who actually watch Game of Thrones. Adam doesn't watch that show, so I don't think he really knows that it's funny that the nickname keeps developing these longer and longer titles, but I think it's pretty funny.
I think it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
What is your favorite experience that you've had being part of this? I asked Gary, and he had some pretty good answers, but what is your favorite experience in this job since you came to this organization?
Sure. Well, I think two things come to mind. One was much more recent, which is the last Carolla cruise was...
That was in November?
Yeah.
I think it was in November.
It was in November. Yeah, we went from Florida to out to Cozumel, Mexico, where we all did, it wasn't scuba diving and it wasn't snorkeling. It was called snuba.
Snuba diving.
Snuba diving.
Yeah.
So it was basically like scuba diving, except instead of having the tank on your back, the tank is on a boat at the top of the water, and then you have like a little cord that sort of attaches your ability, like your face piece, to the tank up there.
Sort of like they used to do back in the 1800s with those weird giant fucking suits.
Yes, exactly. Except it was way better than that, because we actually thought that that's what it was going to be. You'd be wearing those huge like globe things, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was actually like a scuba diving respirating mouthpiece. It could not have been easier to use. I have gone scuba diving before, so I already had the kind of comfort zone of popping your ears and making the pressure differences. Anyway, that whole cruise weekend was probably one of the best experiences ever. But prior to that, I would say my favorite run with the Carolla show was when Adam's book, President Me, came out.
This is
third or fourth. It was like 2014, something like that.
The most recent one, right?
No, he's done one since then. He did the Daddy Stop Talking. Yeah, so then it was his third book then.
Okay, gotcha.
So he had a book tour in like New York and DC and Minneapolis. It was like 3 or 4 stops, and I don't normally travel with Adam in August. But
is there a reason? Because he just doesn't need you, or
it's probably a little bit of both. I think if I had really wanted to travel with them all the time, I probably could have. But I was sort of like, I put all myself into this job all the time when I'm here.
I work 6 days already.
Yeah,
dude.
So if he's going to be gone for like a couple days, now, right?
Right.
I do all the planning. I book all their tickets and hotel rooms and all that stuff and make sure.
You need to get that dude on some sort of a points program.
Dude, he is on. It's not even worth going into.
Really?
Oh
my gosh. He needs to enjoy it more. Oh my God. He sounds so miserable.
I know. Well, I mean, listen, if we're being totally honest here, like, he needs like a travel agent. We should really be working with like a travel agency who really does all this stuff. But
didn't he used to work for a travel agency when he was a kid?
Yeah, maybe back in the day.
Yeah, but I'm sure those people are dead.
That's true. The reality is, though, the way that Adam likes his, the way he likes his schedule to work is like, He wants to get into town right before the show starts, and then he wants to leave as early as humanly possible.
Right.
And when that is your like most important thing, is that I'm here at a certain time and gone at a certain time, all the other things have to be kind of considered. They could go away, meaning maybe it's not going to be the most comfortable plane, or maybe you're not going to be sitting in the class that you want to sit in.
Right.
Now, you can be on a larger plane, but that's going to mean you're landing 5 hours earlier.
Correct.
So all these things happen, and I don't know how much of it Adam is like really thinking about it when he gets upset about the travel that he ultimately does. But we go through every leg of every flight. I tell him here are like 4 options that might work, but it's usually like if you want A, B, and C, then this is just going to be the plane that you're on.
Right.
And, rewards points and all that stuff. He gets submitted for all that stuff. But again, if the airline doesn't go to that place at that time, it's just not going to happen, But anyway, going back to great experiences with Adam. So travel, don't normally do it. But there was a time in 2014 when this book came out. Mike August and his wife were having a baby. So he couldn't go on the tour. So this was going to be me and Adam, just me and Ace for 4 days doing a book tour. That was an unbelievable experience.
Really?
Just seeing the fans and doing all the signings, all that stuff that was part of the work was really fun. But then the, car limo rides with Adam. We went to the movies and we saw Godzilla with Bryan Cranston together and went out to a couple bars. All that kind of stuff that like you don't get to do with your boss, let alone with this hilarious comedian that you loved for your whole life who just now happens to be your boss. So that was kind of an unforgettable experience. And again, it was awesome because it all went so smoothly. There wasn't any tension. There wasn't any sort of snafu. So it was just like a super positive experience. On the rare occasions that I do travel, like if the whole show is going to go somewhere, it's always just so much fun being with everybody on the crew because we've all been together for so long. It's like a family,
Has Adam ever said, sure, everything went smoothly on that trip you were going?
Yeah, well, I think I've gotten my, he's been verbal with his appreciation in plenty of instances.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I do want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely, man.
I don't want to take up your whole day.
No, this was great, man. Thanks again for...
I really, really, really appreciate you making time for me this trip. Tell everybody where they can find you, man.
Sure. Well, I'm on Twitter at Matt Fondiler.
How do you spell that?
It's spelled like Fondiler.
What?
Yes. Fondiler. And then you can hear me on Ace on the House, on the Adam and Dr. Drew show. Our main producer, Chris, has a show called Water Cooler, which is just all the
Chris
staff members. Yeah. So I'm on that show. And then also, kind of unrelated to Carolla Digital, there's another podcast I work for called Sword and Scale Rewind, which is kind of its own entity. So there's a really famous true crime podcast called Sword and Scale.
I think that's my daughter's favorite podcast. She's
Okay.
26.
It's
that is her
amazing.
absolute favorite podcast.
It is amazing. It's totally
Is
insane.
that a Podcast One joint?
Nope, it is
Nope.
not.
How did you get hooked up with them?
So this is sort of a strange thing. So this is a show that I heard about this show through, I saw an article in a magazine about just like true crime shows. And I got my wife hooked on it and she loved it and was like, Matt, you should start listening to this. And I listened to a few episodes. It's incredibly dark. It is true crime, but this guy...
Sort of like season 1 of Serial?
Yes, although like season 1 of Serial is like 6 episodes all about one story versus this guy, like each week he'll pick like one serial killer or maybe it was just like a one-time murder, like a crime of passion. And then he'll just break it down like who all the players were, how it happened. He's got audio from courts. Sometimes some of the crimes are uploaded to YouTube. So you hear footage of like people being murdered and stuff. It's a crazy show. It's like legitimate stuff of nightmares. So that's what your daughter's listening to.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I told Lynette, Adam's wife, about this show because Lynette's super true crime fan.
Yeah, he was saying she watches a lot of How to Kill My Husband or some weird
Sure,
shit like
yeah,
that.
stuff like that. So, and Sword and Scale is kind of like that. There's plenty of episodes about wives killing their husbands. So I told her, I was like, you need to listen to this show. It's terrifying because it's all real, but I think you're going to like it. And basically, Lynette and Stephanie started talking about the show on their podcast all the time. Now the creator of Sword and Scale is hearing all this feedback from these two women, and they have a huge audience. So he said, hey, I've been looking to do like an after show, kind of like The Talking Dead for The Walking Dead, where people, after the show's over, you can stick around and hear like some commentary about that episode.
You might get sued by Chris Hardwick.
Right. Exactly. Well,
I think he owns all of that.
all that kind of stuff, right? So the creator of Sword and Scale reached out to Lynette and Stephanie and was like, hey, do you guys want to host the official after show? And they, of course, agreed to do that. And then when I heard about that, I was like, hey, Lynette, remember who told you about that show? And so, sure enough, I get to produce that show now.
How cool is that?
It's super cool. And much like my experience with Adam, I've now met the guy who does Sword and Scale, who was just another person that I really admired the work that he was doing.
Like just a dude?
Yeah, just a dude. I mean, a dude who loves murder and stuff like that. But yeah, he's just
he wasn't
a dude.
like Adam where he had this massive audience.
No, he was like in
could bring.
advertising and stuff before. He was just like someone he was interested in, and then he built his own little empire. So it's not like a super official job that I do. It's, not related to my work here, but it's something I do for fun. Once a month we meet and record a couple episodes. But yeah, so that's the other show that I'm on, Sword and Scale Rewind, which I would also suggest. You can get that on iTunes too.
Sweet.
Yep.
I don't know if we finished. I think I interrupted all of your social media.
Just on Twitter, Matt Fondiler. That's the only good one.
Cool.
And then, Water Cooler. That's Chris's show.
Do you still do There Will Be Spoilers?
No, I stopped doing that. I did 300 episodes
Holy
over
shit.
6 years.
Nicely done, dude.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
And it was really cool because my 300th episode, I recorded it 6 years to the day with my same friend that was on episode 1. And episode 1 was taped in my parents' backyard, so we taped the final episode in my parents' backyard.
Oh my God,
too.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I got this really kind of fun little bookend, and the last episode we got to kind of look back on how much things had changed over 300 episodes. So it was a really satisfying ending, and so that's not on the internet anymore. You have to, if you want it, you have to go through me first.
Sweet.
Yep.
So is that how it works? Once you're done and you stop paying, I guess, for hosting,
Exactly.
is it just gone?
Yeah.
Somebody was asking me that the other day. I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I still have all the files,
Of course,
all the original files. But yeah, for that show, my friend was hosting the files for me. My friend had bought a website for his tutoring business, but he just had all this storage space that he wasn't using. So, that was all up there for the longest time. And then, that was a decade ago for him or whatever. He doesn't do that anymore. So he finally shut it down. So all the files came down.
Kick ass.
But
it looks like we have a caller on line 1.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just kidding.
Well, listen, man, thanks again for having me on.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Take it easy.
You too.
Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening to Fascination Street. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.